What's going on, guys? Dave Mate. Another review. Nothing too crazy, but I have a really good mate to share with you guys. I'm really surprised with this mate. I haven't tried a mate that really surprised me in a long time. The last mate that really kind of blew me away was, I don't know, 5 years ago when I started drinking Kraus organic mate. I remember walking around Argentina. I found a health food store there. And I said, "Oh, look, organic mate." I found Kraus, love Kraus, but that's another story. Uh, about a week ago, I was in one of my local Hispanic supermarkets, just scouting out the mate, scouting out products, things like that. And I came across this bag over here, Liebig. Liebig Original. And it kind of caught my attention. I was vaguely familiar with the actual company that produces the mate. It's a co-op out in Corrientes, Argentina. The exact name is Cooperativa Agrícola de la Colonia Liebig. So, I figured I'd give it a shot, see what happens. And I started drinking it a couple days ago. And right off the bat, I was like, wow, this stuff is really, really tasty. It's one of the most naturally sweet mates I've ever had in my life, I would say. Has a very unique, mild, sweet, velvety taste, unlike many mates I've experienced. Now, 5 years ago, I did experience Plashadito, and I haven't had it since. And Plashadito is produced by the same co-op. And if you remember my review on circleofdrink.com, it wasn't too pretty. I pretty much destroyed the mate. Said, hey, it's no good. I don't know. It's too light. And maybe, I don't know, maybe that information is still standing. Maybe that review is still standing. But after trying this mate made by the same co-op, I want to go back and try Plajadito because I'm so impressed with this mate. Now, as a little caveat to that, I want to say that 5-6 years ago, admittedly, I really wasn't down with light-bodied mates. Why is that? Because my first experience with mate, my first couple years experiencing mate, I was all about the heavy mates. I was all about the Rosamante and the Canarias and the Mission, and when Mission came later, Cruz de Malta. Now, don't get me wrong, still love those mates. But my palate was just so acclimated to the heavy, full-body, robust mates. So anytime somebody said, Dave, try this light mate, try CBC or try Plajadito, I would try it, and I would just say to myself, subconsciously at least, say, this isn't mate. It's too light. I'm not getting that bang. I'm not getting that kind of blast of energy. But fast forward 6.5 years, coming on 7 years later, I have to say that my palate has learned to appreciate these light-bodied mates, maybe because I've been so accustomed to the heavy mates, to the high energy, high caffeine, high tannic level mates that I'm almost looking for a little respite from those heavier, muscular mates. So when I tried Liebig, I was happy because I haven't had a mate that light in a long time. Yes, Circle of Drink has produced a pretty light mate with Suffolk Lights, which is our light mate. But this mate, I would have to say, Liebig does a good job just creating a light mate that's light naturally without having to add any sugar or honey or agave. It just has these natural, sweet tones to it. So let's talk about the bouquet. Now, when I'm reviewing these mates, obviously I spend significant time before I actually prepare, before I'm actually live talking to you right now. But just to give you some insight into how I do this, I literally just open up the bag and I just spend time every single day just smelling the mate, trying to pick up what's going on here. I just try to recall all the thousands of different signatures or aromatic signatures in my mind. And this mate, I'm picking up on honey. I'm picking up on agave. I'm picking up on lemon verbena, lemon citrus peels, orange citrus peels, just a very kind of honeysuckle, nectar, lemon, lime, honey situation going on here. It's very pleasant, very light, very ethereal. It's almost kind of wispy, if you will. Very nice nose. Now, let me share my screen and show you guys the actual cut. All right. Liebig Original. As you can see, it comes in this nice gold bag. It's been around for at least 80 years. It's been 90 because they started in 1926, but maybe 80 years since this actual brand has been around. Back in 1926, yep, this cooperative or co-op was started in Argentina. And I'll show you a picture of the founders right here. Look at these dudes. They're from Eastern Europe, I believe. At the turn of the 19th century, for those of you that don't know, a lot of Eastern Europeans were granted land in northern Argentina. And the purpose of that was to stimulate the resurgence of yerba mate production. So at the turn of the century, we see a lot of immigrants actually starting yerba mate plantations. The same thing was happening in southern Brazil and also concurrently in Paraguay. Paraguay was kind of reviving themselves after they had a series of wars that kind of demolished the yerba mate industry. That's another story. So Liebig comes in this nice gold brick right here. Let me show you guys the cut, and then we'll talk a little bit about the flavor, composition, things like that. So the body of this mate is very light. Light. I would call it a super light body. Very light. It's very transparent. It's wispy, ethereal. It just kind of, it just floats away. Nothing really substantive, but that's okay because the mate tastes so good. It has this sort of fruity, cherry, floral taste composition to it. Like I said before, it has these mild citrus tones. It has this very conspicuous, I would say, honey situation, nectar situation, honeysuckle situation going on, maple syrup, the mouthfeel, the actual consistency of the liquid in your mouth, the mouthfeel, that's, you're picking up on, it's pretty silky, I would say, buttery, it has good viscosity. I'm not surprised because usually with sweeter mates, just like with sweeter wines, you're going to have higher viscosity. The sweeter something usually is, the higher the viscosity, the thicker the actual solution will be. That has to do with the chains of sugars, the chains of carbohydrates. So moving along here, light-bodied mate. Yes, it has a low cycle. I would say very low cycle, almost comically low. So I guess I'm coming to terms with, you're going to have good mates that taste really good, but they're just not going to last long. That just, that's the name of the game with some of these brands, like Union, like we spoke about last week. Tasty mate, but the cycle is very low. For those of you that don't know, a cycle is essentially how long will the mate sustain flavor throughout the duration of drinking it with 1 liter of water. That's my guidance of cycle length. So if you're only going to get about a third or so of strong flavor, discernible flavor within the first third of the liter, then I would consider that a low cycle. If you get a little bit less than a third, I would consider that a very low cycle. If you start creeping up to halfway point of a liter, a little bit more than halfway, I would call that a medium cycle. And if you could get a whole liter with the mate sustaining its flavor relatively consistently, I would call that a high cycled mate. This mate, very low cycle. Let's take a look at the cut. Beautiful cut. Look at that thing. Very, very nice cut. You can almost see how a mate will taste based upon the cut. You see the composition. You see The fact that this is a clean cut. Clean cut means that all the polvo or the powder has been removed. Now that is probably the largest contributing factor to the mate being a light-bodied mate, and also allowing the clear and clean fruity flavors to kind of seep through to the surface of this mate. This is because there's more open surface area and less condensity. It's less condensed because there's hardly any of the heavy particles of the powder or the polvo weighing the whole situation down. No, well, that works with some mates. Canaries, that works with. Del Cebador, that works with. Galaxy, that works with. So remember, guys, when I make these contrasts between the mates and say that one mate has polvo and another mate doesn't have any polvo, I'm not speaking, in absolute terms and trying to say that one mate is better than the other because it lacks this or has that. No. Remember, mate is so diverse. It has such a wide spectrum of characteristics. This mate is like a white tea. It's very light. It's fruity. It's clean. It's clear. It's ethereal, and the flavor is not going to last long at all. And that's okay. It is what it is. So here we go. We got a clean body. Clean cut, and the body is clean too. Light body, low cycle. Now I want to talk about the water temperature with this mate. Now, just like you're going to find with chimarrão, your erva mate from southern Brazil. I was about to say yerba mate, but technically it's called erva mate in southern Brazil, like jimangu, barão, those sort of mates. It's becoming apparently obvious to me that the more delicate the mate that we're dealing with, the more attention needs to be paid to the water temperature. This mate, I would say more so than perhaps any mate I've ever experienced, where the water temperature needs to be properly managed. Now, I found my sweet spot with this mate somewhere between 145 and 150 degrees Fahrenheit. I believe that's around 62 to 65 degrees Celsius with this mate. Now, if you want to go up to 160 degrees Fahrenheit, you can, if you like your mate a little bit on the hot side, which sometimes I do as well. Sometimes I go up to 185, but that's with other brands. This mate, 148 is my sweet spot, nice and low. That way you get to experience the subtle floral characteristics of this mate. But mind you, to this mate's, I don't want to say discredit, but for lack of a better word, yes, discredit. I would say that you really have to pay extra attention with the water temperature with this mate, because it runs a very fine line between burning the mate and totally masking those floral notes, or kind of underdeveloping the taste profile by not using water that's hot enough. You have to find that very thin, sinuous line with this mate. You have to pay attention with this mate. I would suggest getting yourself one of those water temperatures, stick it in the kettle. Once it hits about 145 to 150, boom, kill the water and start drinking right away. What else can I say about this mate, guys? I have to say I was very impressed with it. It has these kind of delicate, nature, caramel, buttery popcorn situation, nougat situation, almost like a Snicker bar situation going on. I would recommend this mate to people who cannot tolerate bittery mate. If you can't tolerate mate that's bitter, and if you can't tolerate mate that has a high caffeine, jolting, high energy effect, then I would strongly suggest this mate. However, this mate is not very easy to find. We're working on it. This is a mate we probably most likely will start to carry in the future, because I'm just so impressed with it. Now, for those of you guys, the die-hard materos, the very, masculine materos that like their mate strong and robust and, I got to get my energy situation, this mate will probably make you laugh. Honestly, it's going to make you laugh because it's just so light. Just so opaque. You know, it's not substantive at all. But for the connoisseur, not to say that you can't be a connoisseur and like strong mate, but for the person who really wants to taste all the spectrums of what mate has to offer, that sort of person, that's okay with just going out on a limb and saying, all right, let me try some very weak mate that's somewhat, you know, flavorful and nice experience. I would highly recommend this mate. It's at the other side of the spectrum of strong yerba mates, totally at the other side. Admittedly, like I said in the introduction, 6-7 years ago, I would have laughed at this mate. I would have said, no, this isn't mate. This is like a very light green tea. But after 6 years, 7 years of tasting, I don't know, probably over 100 brands by now, finally, I could appreciate a mate like this. After I've gone through the whole cycle of all the different types of mates, and I still continue to try mates, 7 years later, I could say, all right, I appreciate a mate like this. It gives me a little break from all the heavy, heady, dank stuff. All right, guys, so this has been another review. My name's Dave Mate. You guys have heard my spiel 100,000 times already. I love yerba mate. Drink it every day. Coming on 7 years now since I ventured off to Argentina, started drinking yerba mate. It's been a very fun experience. The journey continues. A lot of what I know now is just autodidactic. A lot of it is just from, you know, my own personal experience, studying mate, reaching out to different materos, living with people who have been involved in the mate industry, people's families who have been involved in the mate industry. Just a lot of knowledge has been imparted onto me, continues to be imparted onto me. All the trips to Uruguay and Paraguay, Argentina, of course, and I'm sorry, did I say Paraguay? No, I have not been to Paraguay. I plan on going to Paraguay. Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay, yes. And the journey continues, guys. I love yerba mate. What can I say? Check it out yourself. Go to yerbamateland.com. Go to circleofdrink.com. Learn all you can about this powerful ancient herb. And I wish everybody a great journey. This tea will not disappoint you. It hasn't disappointed me. To love this stuff. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you have any requests for me to review mates that you're looking into, let me know, and I'll try to review it. This is ongoing. Next week, I'll probably review another 1 or 2 more mates, and just keep this going, guys. Salud. Appreciate all the support, feedback, love.